Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Inside the GM Studio, a podcast all about the tabletop RPG hobby. I am your host, Matt.
And I am David.
And we have, right off the top here, before we get into our tier list that we've decided to make, well, I decided to make, I kind of forced David into it, for at the end of the show. I looked today, right before we were going to record, and I saw that we got a new email from a new listener, possibly, or just a new emailer from a man named David Yan, who needs some help. David says, "Boys, I'm in a predicament and I could use some insight or advice on what to do. My group is starting a new adventure arc of our campaign, and I introduced the hook for our new adventure, a meeting with the local Thieves Guild, who gave them an offer they couldn't refuse. Well, they refused. The group wouldn't budge. The group wouldn't budge unless an absurd number of gold pieces were handed over before the job was done, and I had enough of that. I said plainly, the Guildmaster thanks you for your time, but doesn't think this relationship will be able to proceed. I might have been a bit butthurt about all this because I added at the end of his statement, this guild doesn't deal with children. The table all looked annoyed, but one of my players told me, if you're going to railroad us, you need to pay up. This took me by surprise, as I exclaimed, I'm not railroading you. If you don't want to take the job, that's fine. There's a whole city and wilderness out there full of adventure. I was lying. I had nothing." The rest of the session worked out well as I improvised a small job they could do and still get my original adventure in play. I still want there to be some sort of consequence for them snubbing the Thieves Guild. Am I being petty? My adventure will still go off as planned, but that remark about railroading has put a bad taste in my mouth. If you have any advice, I'd appreciate it.
Well, a couple of things. One, you can't let it be a bad taste in your mouth and try to seek vengeance on your players because it sounds like, rightfully called you out for something that is kind of lazy. So, I understand. Often quests don't have, myriad entry points. So I kind of get why you would just have it be like a singular, like, quest hook. It also sounds like this was at the start of the adventure, like the quest, like
Yeah.
it wasn't like a new adventure, it was like the start of the campaign, right?
Might have been, yeah. It said, this group is starting a new adventure arc of our campaign. So I'm guessing he means the beginning?
Okay, so, well, no, he says a new adventure arc of the campaign, so presumably the campaign has been underway for a minute. You get a little bit of a forgiveness from players when your initial hook that kicks off the entire campaign is a little railroady, because it's like there's one call to adventure and you want them to know that it's not super sandboxy, that the plot goes in one direction. But if it's already been like an arc and you're starting a new adventure, then this kind of touches on a point that I've made previously, which is don't vanguard the fun, the totality of the plot behind one thing. And that's kind of what railroading is saying, like, well, this is the quest and here is the quest hook, and take it or leave it. You can do some damage control though, because you can think of, well, what is the quest that the Thieves Guild was going to give them? Think about that, and then establish who else would have a vested interest in some sort of outcome, whether it's what the Thieves Guild wanted or some other version of that. You know, you say an Assassin's Guild has hired us to kill this guy. And then you think, okay, well, who would want that guy alive? Like, who would want to ensure that he doesn't get assassinated? You can think about things like that from multiple angles and think, are there other factions are there other people, NPCs predominantly, or groups that would have a stake in whatever it is the Thieves Guild wanted? Because presumably, if the Thieves Guild wanted to employ the PCs to do something, you always have to be thinking about a few different things. One, why is it urgent? Meaning, why does the guild want this done? And a big one that a lot of people leave out is why can they not do it themselves? And I think a lot of times DMs don't think through that, but it's a pretty common question for players to ask. Like, we, escort, this, person to this place. And you go, right, okay. I mean, if you're going to pay me, that's fine. But like, why can't you do this? Because it's a reasonable question to ask. Like, well, it's too dangerous, or we don't have the resources to do this, and then sometimes your explanation can undercut your reason. You say, I need the party to escort this thing, and you go, why can't you do that? And if the answer is, well, we don't have the time and manpower to do it, then the logical next question is, well, how can it be that important then? Like, how
Yep,
can it
right.
be important if you can't be bothered to do it? So you need to strike a balance between those two things. But you can think about things that are, that also touch this particular thing. Because if it's important in the world of the Thieves Guild has competitors, it has rivals, it has enemies, and it they if it's important, then those things need to be true. And so who else could possibly give them this quest? And if you're smart, you'll think about a few different ones, a few different entry points into the same quest that give the players options as to who they might want to be employed by, who they might want to work with, what angle they might want to approach something. You have something that's like Assassin's Guild or Thieves Guild, go steal this thing for us. And the PC goes, well, we're not thieves. We're not just stealing shit for money. Like, we have values, or we don't like to do that. We don't want to work with this particular agent. And so things are more fun when you have NPCs whose goals are opposed. And there's a cause, because they are opposed after all. If they're just mercenaries that are just doing things for the gold, then that really gets kind of stale very fast. But let's just say they are that way. Your PCs, like I said, you don't want to punish your PCs for calling you out on it and paying attention to this, so that they notice when you.
No, we gotta stop.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, we gotta stop. I got me.